No, see, I practiced all morning saying good afternoon, and then I completely blew it when I said good morning. I'm just so used to it. I'm Hank Philippi Ryan here live on First Chapter Fun, here on Instagram, and here on Facebook at my first time for the new time of 12:30 in the afternoon, just during your lunch or after your lunch. Hannah Mary McKinnon and I bring you here on Instagram and here on Facebook another fantastic first chapter of a terrific new book. This week we have changed from 11:30 a.m. that you're used to 12:30 p.m. for all kinds of reasons, and we'll see if it works. It's like being on another time zone, isn't it? Hi, Linda. Hi, Jen. Hey, hi, AR Mommy and Little Miss Fab One on Instagram, and I see you. They're not showing me the comments on Facebook again. This is a new thing that we'll have to deal with. So if you are on Facebook, and I see by the numbers that you are, please leave me a comment. So we will see whether Facebook is allowing me to see your comments this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our new time, and I hope you are enjoying this. Oh, I see Lynn. Yay! Thank you, Lynn, on Facebook for putting in that comment. So I know I exist more than just the little numbers going up on the Facebook screen. It's great. You've got to love First Chapter Fun. We have been here now for 91 episodes. Hannah, good morning. I know I said the same thing, Hannah. Hannah just said good morning on Instagram, and then said, I mean, good afternoon. And this is exactly what we're talking about. We'll all have to get used to being on the new time zone for First Chapter Fun. And Al Peasant is saying good morning too. We are all in it together. And Beth says good morning. Well, it is morning somewhere, right, in the other time zone. So I'm talking about the Eastern time zone where I am in Boston, but it is still morning. Hooray for all of you in the Midwest and out West. And speaking of which, we're really thinking about you all in California and Washington and Oregon, where those fires are. If any of you are there, please stay safe and please let us know. Hey, Debro on Instagram, and hi, Little Miss Fab and Lynn and Beth, and you hear my phone. You hear our phone ringing in the background. My husband is a criminal defense attorney, and he works here at home as well. He's in the sunroom. I'm here in my study, and so sometimes, inevitably, the phone is going to ring. That's just real life, and that's why we're live. Hi, Susie Approved Book Reviews. Hi, it's so nice to see you here on Instagram. So Carolyn says, and here's Reece Hirsch, our author of the day. We will be reading today from Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch. Can you see that? Oh, it shows up so nicely. That's perfect, even with the glare, with the little light. Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch, a really nail-biter of a taut cyber thriller. And the wonderful thing about Dark Tomorrow, one wonderful thing about it, is it's so timely and so contemporary. And Reece Hirsch, who is with us here on Instagram and here on Facebook, will tell you that it could happen and actually has happened. So as always, in the comments, leave Reece a question about that. On Facebook, it works better because here on Instagram, the questions disappear no matter how often Hannah Mary McKinnon and I plead with the Instagram people to let the questions stay up. When we put the videos on IGTV, all of your comments and questions go away, but not here on Facebook. So on Facebook, put your questions on Facebook. And Darilee Wickens says, good morning from Australia, where it's 2 a.m. on Friday. Okay, now that's just mind-blowingly weird. So Darilee, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. It's a wonderful name. Already knows what's happened. So that always makes my mind kind of crash, and I love that. Anyway, Reece Hirsch's book, Dark Tomorrow, is what we are reading, the first chapter of today. It's a taut, smart, fast-paced suspense cyber thriller with a wonderful female main character and a wonderful female antagonist, and that is just such a cat and mouse game. And it's really scary when you think about how much we depend on email and how much we depend on the internet, and we would not be together if not for that. And Jen is saying it's a great premise for a book, and it is a great premise for a book. Weaponizing email, and then what would happen if the entire East Coast went black, went dark, went no electricity, elevators, no lights, no refrigeration, no email, no anything. And we don't even want to think about that. We only want to think about it in books like Dark Tomorrow. Lynn wants to say thank you for last night. It was a lot of fun. It was. We had a wonderful event on NOLA's second line last night, Hannah and I. And Kimberly Bell, a wonderful friend of First Chapter Fun, and JT Ellison, a wonderful friend of First Chapter Fun, went on Nola Nash's second line show, which you should catch on YouTube. Nola is a riot and hilarious and has all kinds of spooky, scary stories and insight about New Orleans, which you should catch. JT Ellison told a ghost story about New Orleans, which is just amazing. So Reece is saying on Facebook that the first, if you don't know this on Instagram, Reece is saying on Facebook that the email attack that's described in the first chapter is based on a real incident directed at the journalist Kurt Eichenwald. And that is really scary. Thankfully, no one died in real life, but it shows that it can work. And it is really scary stuff. I hope none of you have been a victim of a phishing scam where you open one of those emails and they ask you for some information, or they may install malware on your computer because you opened an attachment. So don't do that. This book that we're reading from today, Dark Tomorrow, is a big object lesson in not opening emails, or certainly not opening attachments from people that you are not really feeling comfortable and safe with. So thank you all for being here this morning. I see so many of you on Instagram and so many of you on Facebook, and that is so nice. Good morning, Allie. Good morning, Beth. And Carolyn says, pumped to hear this book. It's got comp title potential for something that I'm working on. Well, that sounds exciting, Carolyn, and we are eager to hear about that. Quickly, administrative stuff. If we get booted from here on Instagram or booted from here on Facebook, no worries. It's us, not you. It's not Dark Tomorrow. It's just the glitch of the day, which always kind of happens. So if we get booted, we'll come back. It's us, not you. We'll come back and read it over. So never fear. You will get your entire first chapter. And as always, of course, we will put them here on Instagram, on IGTV, so you can look at them as often as you like, and here on Facebook in our videos, archives videos. There will be 91 of them at the end of the day when we put up Dark Tomorrow. 91 first chapters, which is pretty great. I should look and see what book number 100 is. We should have some sort of a giveaway, celebration, big event kind of thing for that. Maybe we can all come up with something fabulous. Tell us what you'd like Hannah Mary McKinnon and I to do for book number 100. That'll be a wonderful celebration. What is 100? Is it like the golden anniversary? Is it the platinum anniversary? The diamond anniversary? If anybody would like to send Hannah and me diamonds and platinum and gold, no, don't do that. Your diamonds and platinum and gold are just you being here with us every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Now you know the new time, 12:30 p.m. I know Hannah's saying 91. Can you believe it? No, I cannot believe it, but I kind of love it. I mean, that is such a wonderful, enthusiastic response to reading these first chapters, and we love it. So adieu. I know that there's a lot of adieu going on, and I just want to make sure that Beth is saying, I will have to read this for sure. Yes, exactly. Just make sure all your devices are plugged in and you don't open anything that's not from someone that you know. So let's, without further ado, and I know Jen Jumba loves the adieu, but here we go with the book Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch, a very intense cover, as you can see. I'm trying to see if I can see it on Facebook. Good, there it is. Let me tell you a little bit about Reece Hirsch, who is here with us on Facebook, and welcome. Thank you for trusting us with your book this morning, and thank you also for Thomas and Mercer for giving us their kind permission to read your first chapter this morning. Reece Hirsch, welcome, is the author of 6 thrillers that draw upon his background as a privacy attorney. His first book, The Insider, was a finalist for the International Thriller Writers Award for Best First Novel. Dark Tomorrow, the second book in his series featuring FBI cybercrime investigator Lisa Tanchik, was just published by Thomas and Mercer. I can tell you, you can read these in any order. They serve as standalones. This is just the second adventure of Lisa Tanchik. You don't need to have read the first one to read the second one. And then you can go back and read the first one second, which is just as good, just as good. When he's not writing thrillers, Reece is a partner in the San Francisco office of an international law firm and co-chair of its privacy and cybersecurity practice. So you know he knows his stuff and he knows what's really going on, and he's going to give us the inside scoop on this very scary situation. Something that helps us so much also can be potentially very destructive. Allie is putting up diamond rings. That's really, thank you. Okay, so you're giving us the diamonds via the Facebook comments. Yes, I know it's the thought that counts, and I love you, Allie, for thinking of us that way. And Jen is saying, I heart the ado, of course. We do too. Reece lives in the Bay Area with his wife and an Ewok-like Brussels Griffon. And those dogs do look like Ewoks, don't they? Or maybe the Ewoks look like the dogs, but they're adorable and they are terrific. So let me tell you quickly about Dark Tomorrow, which is now I'm showing you a picture of my computer, which stalled, which was not really good. I'm going to Dark Tomorrow. There it is. You see what I mean? Once the technology gets out of control, it is totally out of control. Sometimes the humans win and sometimes they don't. Let me tell you a little bit about Dark Tomorrow, which is out now from Thomas and Mercer. FBI special agent and cybercrime specialist Lisa Tanchik faces a deadly threat in this white-knuckle thriller. Lisa Tanchik is skilled at handling cyber threats, having recently taken down a dark web black market worth billions. But ruthless hacker Natalia X always seems to be a step ahead. The government calls on Tanchik's expertise when an email attachment causes a fatal seizure at U.S. Cyber Command. But before she can get her feet under her, the entire East Coast goes dark. A sinister plan is unfolding before her eyes, and no one knows who is behind it. Tanchik plunges into chaos to hunt down the true source of the attacks. Close dealings with shadowy figures, both online and off, expose her to extraordinary danger as the country teeters on the brink of catastrophe. A soldier on the front lines of a cyber war, Tanchik must nullify the threat before it deals a death blow to America's institutions and puts millions of lives in jeopardy. No pressure, Lisa, all good. Publishers Weekly on Dark Tomorrow says a nail-biting sequel. The action builds to a surprising twist ending. FBI Special Agent Lisa Tanchik is a flawed heroine readers are sure to root for. So yes, that is exactly true, and that is perfect. And I'm thinking, did you watch The Americans and did you watch Homeland? If you love The Americans and you love Homeland, this is completely the book for you. And oh boy, I loved those. I loved those series. Did you watch them? Did you watch? Remember The Americans, the first chapter, the first episode of The Americans? How sensationally great that was. If you haven't watched it, go watch that. Not now, not right now, because we're going to read from Dark Tomorrow. But if you have a chance, go look at the first episode of The Americans, and I know you'll be hooked. And then you will want to read Dark Tomorrow, which will give you more of that kind of fantastic international cyber high-stakes action. So let me read you almost all of the first chapter of Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch. And it starts Day 1. Traffic was light in the late evening, so DC's national landmarks flashed past in rapid succession on Constitution Avenue. The Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, the Jefferson Monument, the Capitol. Under a fluorescent moon on a cold, cloudless January night, all that white marble looked downright funereal. Maybe it was just seemed that way because FBI Special Agent Lisa Tanchik was on her way to a crime scene. As she drove north into Maryland with a few cars on the highway, her thoughts replayed the day's events, which had started with the class on cybercrime investigation that she had taught that morning at Quantico, and concluded with a couple of bureaucratic skirmishes over her pursuit of a fishing ring. Today had been one of her dark days when she watched life happening to her like a patient under anesthesia. Her depression was so constant a nemesis that she had given it a nickname, the Black Dog, a phrase borrowed from Winston Churchill. She imagined Black Dog curled in the passenger seat now, rising to sniff the air occasionally when the car jostled him. She lifted her coffee from the cup holder and took a couple of strong sips. When she'd received the call to the scene, she'd been at her DuPont Circle home with her boyfriend, midway through her third glass of wine. John had questioned whether she was in any shape to take the call, but Lisa would not be dissuaded. This was her first lead in months on a hacker who she'd been pursuing, and now the hacker had graduated to murder. On dark days like these, it helped to have a problem to work, so she thought about what she knew so far about the crime, next to nothing, and the likely perpetrator, quite a lot. She reviewed everything she knew about the MO and characteristics of the hacker she had been pursuing for nearly a year. She wanted the details to be fresh in her mind when she reached the scene. At 11:35 p.m., she parked in front of a faux colonial apartment complex in Columbia, Maryland. Columbia was a bedroom community south of Baltimore and about 13 miles from Fort Meade, the headquarters of the National Security Agency. A lucky break had brought her there. Lisa had issued a law enforcement alert for a very distinctive MO, and an officer with the Howard County Police Department had been diligent enough to read it and generous enough to alert her while the scene was still fresh. Lisa downed the rest of her coffee, popped 3 breath mints, and stepped out of the car and into the cold. The lights were all on in the apartment complex's lobby. A young uniformed officer was questioning the manager. The officer looked up at the frigid blast of wind as Lisa pushed through the door. "You're FBI?" He sounded a little disappointed, like she didn't live up to his expectation of what someone from the bureau should look like. "Special Agent Lisa Tanchik. They're expecting me." "I'll walk you over." Then to the apartment manager, "Could you wait here a minute? We're almost done." The manager jerked his head, a tense nod. Lisa couldn't tell if he was nervous about being in proximity to death or law enforcement. It was often difficult to distinguish the difference. "So you've seen this kind of thing before?" the officer asked. "Maybe. I'll know better once I get a look. The voicemail from your boss didn't provide many details." "Well, I've never seen anything like it," he murmured. There was another uniformed officer standing in front of the entrance to a 2-story red brick townhouse apartment. The door to Unit 16C was closed, and there was already a strip of yellow crime scene tape across the doorway. "She's from the FBI," the young officer said. "Special Agent Tanchik?" He glanced at her for confirmation. Lisa nodded. When the door opened, the first thing she noticed was the lurid lighting. The small, otherwise dim living room pulsed with a white bright of a strobe. It had an immediate and disorienting effect. The source of the flashing was the large computer monitor on a desk in the left corner of the room. A middle-aged man was splayed on the carpet nearby, his body twisted, back arched like a parenthesis, fists clenched. Lisa shielded her eyes. Murder scenes were always grim, but the harsh light, flashing at high frequency, added a particularly nightmarish quality. Along the rear wall, a large window looked down on a heated swimming pool from which spectral steam rose. A man in a suit and overcoat who had been standing near the window approached. He had a gray-flecked, close-shaved beard. His suit indicated he was the homicide detective in charge of the scene. He extended his hand. "Glad you could get here so quickly. I'm Detective Dexter Smalls." He nodded to the flashing computer. "This look familiar to you?" "It does." "This is some fucked up shit." "Yes, it is." "I didn't want to touch it until you had a chance to look." "Thanks." Lisa approached the monitor. She pulled a yellow Post-it note from a pad on the desk and stuck it over the computer's webcam. "Why did you do that?" asked Smalls. "Because for all we know, the attacker has control of the webcam and is watching us right now. I'm also going to turn off the microphone." "Crap," said Smalls. "You think that's a real possibility?" "I'd say it's more likely than not." Although there was a dead body on the carpet only a few feet away, for Lisa, the circuit board and other components encased in brushed chrome were the true crime scene. The killer would not have left any fibers or latent prints in the apartment, but that didn't mean there weren't any clues to her identity. After disabling the computer's mic, Lisa turned her attention to the email attachment that was the source of the strobing light. She only glanced at it for a second, but it was enough to momentarily blind her, leaving an afterimage of green splotches swelling in her vision. This was the same type of weaponized gift that had been used in a half a dozen other attacks she had investigated, all of them aimed at victims who had been diagnosed with epilepsy. The victims had been tricked into clicking on the attachment, activating the strobe, and possibly inducing an epileptic seizure. Her investigation, which was supervised by Special Agent in Charge Pam Gilbertson in the San Francisco field office, had begun nearly a year ago when the first strobe attachment had been sent to a journalist who had written several investigative pieces on white nationalist movements. There were no apparent links between the victims, except they all had been journalists or strident political voices, whether from the left or from the right. That told Lisa the attacker was not an ideologue, but rather someone intent on deepening the divisions within the nation and willing to kill to advance that objective. In half of those cases, the strobe had failed to cause the desired effect. In 3 other cases, non-fatal seizures had been induced. It had been 3 months since the last attack, and this was the first fatality. John Rosenthal had been very unlucky. The strobe was designed to be difficult to deactivate, but Lisa had enough experience with the exploit to know how to turn it off. With a few keystrokes, she returned to the room in its originally dim state. "That's a relief," Smalls said. "That damn thing was giving me a migraine, but I didn't want to screw up your forensics." With the gift deactivated, Lisa could see the email that was open in the victim's inbox. It read, "Honey, Sally sent us another cute photo from Henry's drama recital. Check it out." The email address also appeared to be from the victim's wife, but Lisa already knew there would be a telltale glitch, at least one wrong character, which the victim had failed to notice in haste to view a family photo. The attacker was spoofing the email of, I'm guessing, his wife. Smalls stepped up next to her to see for himself. "I see. That one letter makes all the difference, doesn't it?" He shot Lisa a look, and she worried for a moment that he could smell alcohol on her breath. "We can contact the email provider," she said, "get the account information for that address, but I'm not expecting much. Okay if the FBI handles that?" "Sure. They'll probably respond faster to a request from the feds." "Has the family been notified yet?" "Yeah. The wife wasn't able to reach Rosenthal by phone or text, so she called the apartment manager, who opened up the unit and found the body. The wife lives in Charlottesville and is driving up here as we speak." Detective Smalls crouched down to get another look at the body and added, "You'd think someone who works at U.S. Cyber Command would know how to spot a phishing scheme." The victim worked at Cybercom? Cybercom was the unit within the Department of Defense charged with conducting cyber warfare and cyber defense. "Cybersecurity analyst at Fort Meade. High security clearance, apparently. When I saw that, I knew the feds were going to want in on this." "What's he doing up here away from his family?" "The family lives in Charlottesville, but he stays in this apartment when he's at Fort Meade for extended assignments." "So the lease is held by the Department of Defense?" "It would appear so. The apartment manager says government employee types rotate through this unit. Most of them probably Cybercom spooks." Lisa joined Smalls at the computer to re-examine the email. "It doesn't look like he was handling any sensitive data at the time of his death, just checking his personal email account," she said, "and to your earlier comment, just about anyone could have fallen for this. The attacker did her homework. She'd clearly hacked the victim's account. I knew that his wife had sent him other emails that looked a lot like this one." "The person who did this also knew that Rosenthal had epilepsy," Smalls said. "It can't be easy to get that information. You think his medical records were hacked?" "Not necessarily. The information could have come from his email, and you'd be surprised what people share on social media. No, I wouldn't. I have a 16-year-old daughter. But, Lisa said, not everyone with epilepsy would respond this way to the attachment. It's called photosensitive epilepsy, and only 1 in 20 people with epilepsy have it, including all the victims so far. During her investigation in the other attacks, Lisa had learned that a light flashing at between 5 and 30 times per second, combined with rapid movement and heavy contrast between light and dark, could overstimulate the primary visual cortex and then spread to other parts of the brain, creating a potentially deadly seizure. The illness had come to the attention of the medical community in the 1990s when an episode of the animated TV series Pokemon caused a wave of seizures among children in Japan. Smalls rubbed his stubble. So I guess the question is whether sending that sort of email attachment is considered murder. Sending that gift to Rosenthal was the same as sending him a package of anthrax or a bomb through the mail, Lisa said. You get no argument from me, Smalls said. So I noticed that you keep referring to the attacker as she. Does that mean you know who did this? I don't have a name, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to link this to 6 other similar attacks. It has all the earmarks of someone I've been pursuing for over a year. After all that time, I hope you know something about her. There was no harm in telling him what she knew. I'm pretty sure she's operating out of Eastern Europe, probably Russia, but possibly Ukraine, and I know some message boards that she frequents. I also have a name that she uses online sometimes, Natalia X. Natalia X. She's on the trail of Natalia X, and this does not sound good. Was I right? Is it like Homeland? Is it like The Americans? That inside, Daisy saying, seems like murder to me. Yes, and that is exactly what Detective Smalls and Agent Tanchik are saying too. No matter what the weapon is, it is still murder. It is still premeditated. It is still for a reason, and this is not the first time that this has happened. So that has all the earmarks of a fantastic thriller, doesn't it? Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch. You can open this on your Kindle and you can get the real book. But if someone sends it to you as an attachment, be sure you know who sent it to you, because and this should really make you wary of opening attachments. This is really, as I said earlier, really an object lesson for all of us in being really careful with all this technology, and all, we're so involved in it, and we use it every day, and it seems so simple, and it seems so easy, and it seems so convenient for all of us. But just as Agent Tanchik says, as Reece Hirsch says, think of all the things you say about yourself online on Facebook and on Instagram, and how easy it would be for someone with sinister motives to put all those things together, weave all those things together, and find out a lot more about you than you think that you are revealing. Some sinister person would know that we have ducks and tomatoes. I think that's not narrowing it down too much. Linda's saying, great premise, Homeland and The Americans were fabulous. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Jill is saying, I got an email this week to work email from Microsoft. Spam reported. Yes, and what Reece is saying is also that, if you get a call from Amazon saying, you have to give your credit card number, Amazon isn't going to call you and say to give your credit card number. If you get an email that looks like it's from someone, one of your vendors or Amazon or Microsoft or whatever it is, and they say there's a problem with something, go to the real website of the place and look at your account. Do not click on the link that this email is asking you to click on. Just don't do that. That is today's lesson from First Chapter Fun and from Reece Hirsch. Go to the source of the email. Do not click on a link that makes you or asks you to give information. And even the tiniest little gateway into your computer can be really, really devastating. So just don't do that. So I'm hoping you are, Hannah saying, haha, ducks and tomatoes. You know, that's me these days, ducks and tomatoes and a manuscript that I still need to work on, but we are getting there. We are getting there. Again, this is Dark Tomorrow by Reece Hirsch, a wonderful, nail-biting, as Publishers Weekly says, cyber thriller. Now, coming up, okay, so Tuesday, the fun continues at 12:30 right here on First Chapter Fun Live. We will be reading the first chapter of Lisa Unger's fabulous, amazing Confessions on the 745. You know Lisa Unger. She's such a dear friend of First Chapter Fun and such a dear friend to Hannah and me, and she is amazing. She's hilarious and brilliant and dedicated and adorable, and she has a terrific family. She lives, I'm not going to tell you where she lives because, see, this is one of those cybercrime things. This is a twisty, turny thriller, which Lisa will tell you was inspired by Strangers on a Train, and that's what it looks like, Confessions on the 745, an amazing, page-turning domestic suspense novel that you will not want to miss when we read the first chapter here on Tuesday. Kimberly is saying yay, and that we are saying yay too, because we are thrilled to be reading from Confessions on the 745, Confessions on the 745 by Lisa Unger with this gorgeous cover, like Strangers on a Train. So, and you never know what's going to happen on a train, and you never know what you're going to overhear. So be here on Tuesday at 12:30 EST to hear the first chapter of Confessions on the 745 by Lisa Unger. We hope you enjoyed Reece Hirsch's Dark Tomorrow. Go out and get that book, and then we will see you right here at 12:45, our new time. Nope. I'm getting my times mixed up because it's 7:45 on the book, 12:30 for First Chapter Fun. We'll see you right here live at 12:30 on Tuesday for another edition 92 of First Chapter Fun. Until then, stay safe, stay kind, keep reading, and love you madly. I know I'm still on live.